Hey all, here OS Reviews. You're watching our hands-on review of the PORTOCAM Cube. This is one of the smallest Wi-Fi spy security cams that you can find. It's about the same size as a typical fitness tracker in terms of front dimensions, and here it is next to a standard size US quarter. You can attach it onto most metal surfaces, and there's also an included mount as well that makes that process a little bit easier. So here's what the packaging looks like, pretty simple. In the box we have the aforementioned magnetic mount. It has a rotatable pivot hinge, and this top here is actually magnetic, so I can attach it like this, and then I can stick this onto any surface, whether it's a dashboard or somewhere flat, to position it at various angles. There's also a quick user guide. There is a micro USB cable for charging, and that's pretty much it. It takes about 2 hours to completely charge, and afterwards you can get roughly a day's use out of it with Wi-Fi turned on before it runs out of juice, but it can also work while being plugged into power, so you can leave it in one spot and just use it as a traditional home security camera as well. So taking a closer look at the design, the front here is made out of a glossy plastic material. It tracks fingerprints a little bit. The camera sensor here is wide angle and it has about 160 degrees. The very top here features a dedicated power key. Now the key is a little bit hard to press. I don't think it's the most tactile thing in the world. Maybe it's just my unit, but you have to exert a little more force. You can long press to turn it on, and after a few seconds you see these LED lights flash on the back. After about 20 seconds it will be connected to Wi-Fi, so either your home's router or directly to your phone, and you're able to view back content. Now there's no built-in memory, so you do need your own micro SD card, and it takes cards up to 64 gigabytes. On the side here we do have quite a bit of ventilation ports, so the thing really does get quite warm after you use it for more than 45 minutes, at least in my testing so far. So these are for dissipating the heat. You can kind of see the battery inside. So the app is actually a generic one. It's called HD Minicam, and we've already seen it before for other security cameras and spy cameras on the market. If it's offline, it means it's going to try and scan the QR code directly to link the camera to your phone's Wi-Fi. This first mode would be useful if you're on the go and you're taking this with you so your phone can act as a viewfinder. The second mode is setting it up so that the camera is connected to your home's Wi-Fi router. Regardless of what method you choose, after you're connected, you're able to see it in this list of all your cameras. So we can just tap on this one. It's currently online. I'm just going to skip setting up a password, and you're able to then shortly see what the camera is seeing. There's a split, maybe 1 to 2 second delay, but for the most part, things are kept up fairly well. There is some fuzziness if we try to zoom all the way in, but for the most part, colors are pretty accurate looking, and you can definitely get plenty detail. Definitely enough for the purposes of just surveillance. And by default, we are at full 1080p, which is a full HD, and that is the maximum resolution that this camera is capable of. Already a little bit better than some of the past cameras that we've seen, which were only 720p by comparison. And you can also lower the resolution if you have lower, let's say, bandwidth. So here's what the black and white infrared mode looks like. You can tell everything is in black and white, but the picture quality is still quite good, especially if we just kind of dim all the lights now in the background. It's just in black and white, so it does a reasonably good job. It has a distance of around 10 meters or so when you are in the infrared mode, and you can tell by the reflections in these glasses that it has 4 of those infrared lights, which is how it's able to see. So objects that are really far away obviously will struggle more, but for the most part you can still make out people's faces and larger objects if they move around at night. Now the camera's hardware does include a built-in microphone, so you can record sound as well, but what's interesting is Amazon actually prohibits selling spy cameras with a built-in microphone. So what the seller has done is they've disabled this function by default. You have to install a software update, which they will actually email to you after purchasing this. So yes, it does record sound if you want to hear what the other person is saying. If you want to use it as a two-way walkie-talkie for communication, it does have that feature built on in. So next I'm going to play back a few other clips that I've recorded just outdoors to give you a better idea of the quality of the sensor. So as seen from those clips, again, the quality really isn't that bad. It actually does look fairly good, especially in daytime environments. Similar to, again, most sports cameras and action cameras. The only downside is there's no stabilization of any sort. So even though it's a wide-angle lens, which already helps mitigate some of that shakiness, it's still quite apparent if you move your hand around too quickly or if there are bumps and you're walking up and down. Now, I do wish that the app could have given us some additional settings, such as time-lapse, because I think that would be quite cool, especially on such a wearable, magnetic, mountable camera, but unfortunately that's not available through the software, and that is one of the downsides of going with a generic app instead of one that's designed from the ground up. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the PORTOCAM Cube. Again, one of the smallest Wi-Fi mini security cameras on the market. It's absolutely tiny, it's easy to take with you, and surprisingly functional. Whether you want to leave it at home, whether you want to take it with you and mount it somewhere, it's cleverly designed, and performance also really isn't bad for only 45 bucks. You can check out more details in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the PORTOCAM Cube.